This week has been a great manga reading week for me, where I've tried 7 new mangas. Most of them have been recommended by you guys in my previous manga videos, so I thought it would be fun today to just discuss what I thought about them and whether I'd recommend them to anyone that's not read them. And I'm going to start with the manga I least preferred to the manga that I'm now obsessed with, so going in that order. It's not going to be a long video, just a bit of a chit chat. To be fair, I always say that and they end up so long. But it has been such a good week. Some of these I know are going to be my absolute favourite mangas, so thank you for those recommendations. You will also be extremely proud of me because I think only 3 of them are school life. So this gal is branching out and I'm pretty proud. Anyway, before I begin today, I quickly want to put a disclaimer in here that I apologise in my last manga video where I rank 66 shoujo manga, tropes, genres, etc. I classed Josie as a subgenre of shoujo, which isn't the case. So thank you to the user that commented that in the comment section, and they did it in a really nice way. I'm learning on my manga journey still, and that's one thing I do love about the manga community on YouTube, is that haven't found anyone that's horrible or mean, and when you do mess up, people are just nice in the comments, they let you know, and everyone's learning together. So I thought I'd quickly pop in here the 4 main demographics of manga, and if you want to skip this little disclaimer, please use the timestamp on the YouTube video. So let's start with shoujo. This is the main genre of this channel, and I'm just laughing because I am not in this demographic, but I am an avid shoujo reader. The demographic for shoujo is young girls and teenagers between 8 to 18. Then we've got Josie, which is the older demographic for women, aimed at adult women and young adult women, and this age range is between like 18 to 40. I found these age ranges online, so if they're a bit wrong, I'm just saying it so you get the gist, and I apologise if they're not the right age ranges. Then we've got the guy side, which is shonen, which is kind of like the shoujo equivalent, so it's aimed at young boys and teenagers, but aged between 12 to 18, because I think they have another demographic which is aimed at boys younger than 12. Again, I could be wrong here, but this is just what I found online. And then we've got seinen, which is aimed at older males and younger men, so that's like 18 to 40, like Josie. There we go. Quick little lesson. I'm sure most of you knew this, but I'm just putting it in here because I learned it, so I thought it might help out other people who are still learning in their manga journey. So let's get straight into the video now. So the manga that I didn't gel with the most this week, yeah, and I would say I didn't love it, was Kimio Motoki. I apologise if I'm not pronouncing that right. There's no English translated name for that. And this is a collection of 3 short stories, all focusing around love. So the first story focuses on a girl who thinks love is never long lasting. There's always going to be a farewell, so she somewhat stays clear of it. But she has an encounter with this nice guy at school, and he becomes in love with her. It is very insta love. I mean, in most short stories it is, because the story is short. And he is very persistent, and it's about her kind of getting to grips with the feelings and whether she likes him back and whether she can allow herself to love. Then the second story is about a girl who gets saved by this guy, and then she becomes in love with him and wants to be with him, but she ends up confessing her love to his twin, but he's like, you're not his type. And then the whole thing is about that twin brother helping that girl become more his brother's type. And then the third story is about this girl who accidentally sleeps with the guy that's a bit of a hoe. He sleeps around and he's known for that at school. He's a bit of a bad boy, and she slept with him on a drunken night out. But then in the morning, he's like, we may as well go out now. And it's about those two, him chasing her and being like, we're going out, and then her being like, ew, no, we're not. Why is this happening? They're very opposites attract. I would recommend you read the first love story. It happens very quickly, so I wasn't invested, but that's the problem with short stories. That's why I don't really read them, because there feels like there's no build up. Everything's happening so quickly, but I love the ending. The ending was very cliche and it nods to the first bit of the manga, so I did enjoy that story overall. But the stories 2 and 3, I mean, no, they were trashy, and I literally was screaming, run, girl, do not be with this guy, he is ew, and it frustrated me. Read that group of short stories if you like, but I wouldn't say it's up there with great mangas. I have tried to pronounce this and I know I'm not gonna get it right, so I'm gonna put the name and the manga up here, which I do for most of them anyway, but it's this manga. I've only read volumes 1 and 2. I'm not sure if there is more volumes out there, but that's all I have access to right now. And this story follows a guy who goes back to a town which he used to live in with his grandparents back when he was really young, and he has a lot of memory loss from back then, but he ends up coming back to this town and he bumps into this Tengu girl. So as you can tell, this one is more in the fantasy supernatural realm, and what ends up happening is she says, we've met 3 times now, so we have to get married because that is the rules of my family. And the guy has to decide what he's going to do, whether he's going to open up and let this Tengu girl live with him and marry her, or whether he's going to continue being alone, because he lives quite a solemn life. He doesn't have any family, they've all sadly passed away, so he's a bit of a loner. Whereas she is freaking hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. She had me in stitches. She really wants to experience the outside world, so she's desperate to get out and try human food and wear human clothes and do human interactions. It is quite funny, but I'm not actually sold on the manga. I'm not in love with it and I'm not very invested. And I think that is because of all of like the sexual innuendos in it. I don't read many shoujo mangas where it's so obvious that they're trying to make some situations sexual with the female only. So the female's clothing and her facial expressions and objects she holds is very sexual looking, but it's not sexual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do read josies and I have read manga with explicit content in, but that's the point. It's there and it's obvious and there's no innuendos and that's what it's meant to be. Whereas this, it just made me feel icky. I think I need to read more of the manga to see whether I can get over that manga drawing-y situation. So I don't know if anyone else felt that way reading that manga. If you have, let me know in the comments below. So yeah, that one for me is a bit of a hit and miss, but I wouldn't write it off. I would still recommend it. We're getting into mangas that I really love now, and these are great. Some bangers in here. And the next manga that I read was Fall in Love, False Angels, and it follows a guy and a girl who are both incredibly gorgeous, and they're vice presidents of their school, and they're very prim and proper, they are polite, they don't create conflict, and they're like the ideal prince and princess. However, you find out that the girl, she has a dark side, but she wants to hide it from everyone. I don't know why. I'm wondering later on in the manga, will we find that out? But when these two are together, there becomes a situation where she's getting catcalled. These guys are trying to make her come with them, and the guy brings out his dark side, and he's actually really freaking cool and quite evil. I don't know, not evil, but he's a bit of a badass. Like, in another life, he would be a delinquent. Like, that's the vibe he gives off when his bad side comes out. And you find out he's got like quite sick hair and he wears earrings. I think he might even have a tattoo, but he has another side that he hides from everyone as well. And she is obsessed with him now. The story just follows them deciding to keep their identities private from everyone else, but both of them know each other's true sides and they decide to be good friends. I've only read volume 1. That is all that I've got access to. And I'm desperate to read more because I've seen manga panels of this manga on TikTok, like later manga panels. And this is the reason why I picked this one up actually. Oh my God. All I can say is, it is a she falls first, but he falls harder. And I am a sucker for that trope, if you've watched my last manga video. And just the way he acts in those manga panels, I was like, give it to me, give it to me. So I can't wait for that to be translated in English. Like, I like the manga, but I'm not in love with it yet. But because of those sneak peek manga panels that I've seen, like, I know I'm gonna be in love with it. But the first volume's just setting the groundwork, and I'm not crazy for it, but I really liked it. We're into the top 4 and I love them. And you need to read these. These top 4, they are non-negotiables, you must read. So if you haven't read them, after this, add them to your TBR list because you have to read them. So number 4 it's quite a long one, so I'm gonna read it off there because I don't wanna get it wrong, but it's The Saviour's Book Cafe Story in Another World. That just doesn't read right on my tongue. I don't know what it is, but that's the name. I think it's the story in there is making it doesn't make too much sense. Like, it would make more sense being The Saviour's Book Cafe in Another World, rather The Saviour's Book Cafe Story in Another World. But anyway, and it follows this 30-year-old woman who has an encounter with God, and God says to her, you need to go to this other world and be their savior. You're going to be able to do magic there, and you need to protect these people. But she is not interested. She's like, I'm 30 years old. I'm not interested in that anymore. If you asked me when I was younger, I'd be way for it. But now I've got my life and I've got my job. I'm too old for this. The God is like, you've got no choice. You are going to go to this world. But she's very clever because God grants her loads of wishes, and she ends up making a deal with him that she doesn't mind going to this world, but she doesn't want to be its savior. She doesn't want to be its protector. So the God says, I'll put you in a world that already has one, but you'll be there on standby if things get really bad. And when she goes to this world, she sets up a book cafe and she learns magic. It is a really cool story because she doesn't want to be the savior, but then situations arise where she has to decide, am I going to hide away and just live my quiet life here, or am I going to step up and save these people? There is a male interest involved who visits her book cafe. They are so freaking cute, and I don't read many shoujo mangas where the female main character isn't a like young girl or in her 20s. It's very rare they're in their 30s, so I did quite like that aspect of the story. It's mainly so cute and really wholesome, and I was obsessed with the book cafe. I mean, I wish I could have gone there. It's very cool. And it was a fantasy, so I did like the magical aspects of it and the supernatural beings. There's some monsters in the story. I'm only up to volume 3, and I think there's 8 volumes out. Let me quickly check. Oh, there's 5. There's 5 volumes out. But at the end of volume 2, I was like, whoa, like, this is quick. And I was quite shocked with how the story just took a U-turn, basically. I'm not angry with it. I just didn't expect it. Wow, okay. This one is very, very rare that I get a manga recommendation and I go and read it straight away because I've got stuff to do and I've got loads of other mangas on my TBR. But I read this person's comment on my previous manga video and I looked it up to add to my TBR list, and I was instantly hooked. I was like, I need to read this. I need to read this right now. So I only got 2 volumes, so I can do it. I could do it quite quick. I'm obsessed. I wish there was more volumes. It's really, really good. It's a Josie. It's called Haru's Curse. And the story follows this girl who is dealing with the death of her younger sister who died at the age of 19. And she's really struggling with this right now. But her dead sister's fiance asks to date her. And she's like, sure, okay, but one condition is that you take me to all the dates and locations that you took my sister. It's a bit weird, okay? Like, as I'm describing this, it seems a bit, what on earth is going on? But you need to read it to get into it. But it follows the 2 of them dating and her feeling really bad that she's dating her sister's fiance and dealing with her sister's death. But it also follows from the fiance's point of view and what he thinks about this whole situation. It's got a lot of family politics and does speak about death quite a bit, so trigger warning there. And that's all I'll say. It's literally only 2 volumes. It's such a quick read. And overall, the story is so touching. I liked the controversial aspect of her dating her dead sister's fiance. And there's a lot more to the story. So yeah, like I enjoyed volume 2 because you really did, you understand a lot of things and it gets a bit twisty. So I hope I'll persuade you to read it because it is a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, I love that manga, but it wasn't my favourite of all the mangas I've read this week. So next, we've got QQ Sweeper. Oh my goodness. This has been one of my most recommended mangas in my comment sections. People love this series and people have described what the series is to me, but when I went into it, I did not realise that the name changed to Minesweeper, I think it is. So when I was reading QQ Sweeper, I was like, there's only 3 volumes. And when you're reading volume 3, there's so much going on and it's such an open book. And I was thinking, it can't end after 3 volumes. I don't know these answers. I've got this many questions. I want this to happen and it hasn't happened yet. So I was frantic reading that 3rd volume. However, at the end, you find out that there is many, many more volumes. It's just under a different manga name. So don't go into it like me and be stressed. This is another fantasy, like supernatural one. But it's set in school, but I wouldn't call it a school life because it doesn't focus on school life, but it is set with 2 high schoolers being the main character, and it is somewhat set in school because stuff happens at school and with classmates. But yeah, I don't know if I'd count this as a typical school life. It's more slice of life and drama and magic, etc. I would call it a dark fantasy actually. It's quite creepy. It is creepy as hell, but I loved it. Let me get into what the story is actually about. The story focuses on this guy who is tall, dark and handsome, but he's a bit of a loner. He doesn't speak to anyone and he is obsessed with cleaning. He cleans everything. He cleans everything at school, and there's like a second building of the school and he is always in there, but this place is known to be cursed, and if students go in there, they come out crying and they come out a bit messed up. But when he's cleaning this weird, creepy building, he stumbles across this girl sleeping in one of the rooms, and he's like, where the hell has this girl come from and why is she in here? And this is our female main character, who is an orphan. She's got no friends, she's got no family, and she's a new student at the school. But what you find out is that the main character, he is called this Minesweeper, where he cleans away negative energy. So that's why he keeps stuff clean. And the kind of point of the book is when there's negative energy around, and if you're thinking bad thoughts, then the place gets dirty and there'll be like these flies come out and they infest you. So like when you're negative, they latch onto negativity and they make you even more negative. But if you clean, like these sweepers have the ability to sweep away this bad energy so everyone can live in peace, basically. What ends up happening is that the female main character joins this guy and his family of sweepers to help out and become a sweeper herself. I hope I'm explaining that okay, because I can't explain it too much because I don't want to give anything away, and I went into this quite blind and I enjoyed that aspect of it. I really did not know what the hell this was on, like what the hell this was about and what it was talking about. It seemed very random and odd. But it added to the mystery of it. One thing I love about this is the male main character. He is a G. He is amazing. I want more of him. I so can't wait to start Minesweeper purely for him. I love him. He is so sweet, but then he's got that grumpy, aloof side. Actually, he is a softie. He is a freaking softie, and he's not afraid to cry or show his emotions. He's a protector, he's overprotective. Like, his traits are like my top traits in manga, guys. He just knocks it on the head. But I do really like the female main character. I think she's called Fumi, because she is hilarious. Hilarious. The art style in this, when there's a funny moment, is so funny, and I'm really enjoying the fantasy aspect of it. There's like goodies and baddies, and there's a lot of tasks and like saving quests that they have to go on. It's really, really good. So I think I have another 13 volumes, so expect another update about this manga. And then lastly, the last manga of the video is my favorite. I can't believe how obsessed I am with this. It had me laughing, blushing, kicking my feet. It is so wholesome. It is so freaking cute. I am dying for you to read this, please. And it is, hi, I'm a witch and my crush wants me to make him a love potion. It's another long one, and I'm gonna have it up on the screen. I mean, the title literally describes what the book is about. It is about this witch who lives alone, and she's quite a young witch, and her crush ends up knocking on the door, who is a knight, and he asks her to make a love potion. So she has to deal with the fact that her crush is in love with someone else and he wants a love potion for them. So what she does is she makes him find the ingredients, but she does it in a way where it takes a long time to make this potion, so she gets to spend more time with him, and her dealing with her unrequited love. I think that's the right terminology there. This knight character becomes concerned that she's living alone, and he ends up showing up every day to give her food and to check in on her. It's very, very cute. And there is some just moments in this where I was on the floor laughing. There's only 3 volumes and I've read them all. That's been translated in English. And I can't wait for more volumes. I'm dying for more volumes. There's quite a bit of miscommunication in this. So if you're not keen on that, this has it in it. But it's done very well in my eyes, and I don't think it's overdone like in some mangas out there. I am in love with both of the main characters. The male main character, I love his jealous side, and when he's trying to be all gentlemanly and proper, but he's a bit of a ditzy character, whereas she tries to stay aloof and not give anything away, but you hear her internal dialogue and she is just funny as hell, and it's just cute the way she is crushing after this guy. The world knows about witches, but they don't really know them, if that makes sense. They're a bit of a folk's tale, and people think they're a bit evil and they can curse you, etc. Whereas she is just a cute little witch living in this cottage. The main character to me looks a bit like the girl in A Sign of Affection, and I looked to see if they had the same author, but they don't. But the character gave me the vibe of that manga. Loved it. So all in all, a really good reading week. I mean, there's probably one in there that I wouldn't recommend. The others I recommend wholeheartedly to you. All of them, only one of them actually has tons of volumes, so they're quite early on mangas. So if that's not up your street, I know some people really don't like that and they wait until all the mangas are out. So I'll definitely look into that before reading these. Some of them are only 1 to 3 volumes out. So don't forget to comment down below if you've read any of these mangas. Give me your opinion. I love to speak about mangas with people, so definitely comment below your opinions. And as always, I'm always looking for recommendations. Like this from this video, I do read your recommendations, so comment that as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.